Welcome back. In this video, we will develop this cool looking Pomodoro timer using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So let me show you how this timer works. So when user click on start button, the timer will start. As you can see, I have clicked on start button and the timer has been started. And it will when it reach to 00, then it will show an alert that the timer is completed, something like that. And when we click on pause, the timer will pause. As you can see, I have clicked and we have been paused at 24 minutes 46 seconds. And when user clicks on reset button, it will reset to the original values, which is 25 minutes. So if you want to find the code for this timer, then you can go to my GitHub repository. Let me search for it. GitHub, under that repositories, and once it is loaded, you will see a Pomodoro timer repository, and on that, on the branch master, the code has been uploaded already. If we click on view code, the code is available here. Now let's start with actual development of this project. So first of all, as you can see on the left side, I have already opened my VS Code and created three files: index.html, script.js and style.css. We will require these three files to develop this project. And also you can see I have one extension installed in my VS Code, which is live server. So whenever I save my code, the changes will be reflected on the browser. So let me just open the server, and you can see currently we don't have any code here, so we are saying it as blank. So now let's create a boilerplate HTML code and start with our development. So I will type shift and exclamatory, and the emit abbreviation is been seen on screen. So when I click enter, the base HTML code is available for us. First of all, let's set the title for it. So Pomodoro timer, and let's save. As you can see, when I save it, the title is visible here. Now let's also link our HTML file. So let me go to here, link not HTML file, our style sheets and the script.js. So link rel, and we want to link style sheet, and we want to set the href to style.css. We will also confirm it if it is been linked or not by creating some dummy style and link it to our HTML. Also, let's add our script where the source is script.js, and let's close the script tag. Now, to confirm if we have properly linked our style and script files with our HTML code, we will write on our JavaScript code, we will write console.log, and as we always write console.log hello world. It is just written here for confirming that our script and style files are linked. So let me also use one h1 tag and write something here, hello world, and I will do some styling for it, color. And when I save, you can see the styling is visible. Also, if I open the inspector, control shift and I, hello world is printed on our console. So we are good with our linking the codes, the HTML file, not the HTML file, the CSS file and JavaScript file. So let me remove this code, and also we don't require any script.js code here. So we'll remove it, and we will also remove it. Now let's start with our development. So first of all, let's create a class, and we will like do the styling later. Just create a div and add some classes to it. So here the class will be container. Under that we want an h1 tag, and it will say Pomodoro timer. As if we go to our original, here you see Pomodoro timer is visible. That's why we have also written Pomodoro timer here. Now let's create one more div with the class timer, and under that we will create one more div to display the time. So let's name it time display. So a class is created, a div with class time display is created. Now let's add a span here. Let's set it id to minutes, and we want it to start with 25. And let's also set the seconds. Span id is seconds, and at the start it will be 00. Let's save it. As you can see, 25.00 is visible on screen, and it is not looking good, but we will do the styling part later. So after doing this setting the value for minutes and second, we will add some buttons, and we will create a div with class buttons, and we will create three buttons, one for starting the timer, one for pause, and one for reset. So let's create three buttons here. So button is created. Let's give it some id. So the first is start button, and let's name it start. Now let's copy it and paste it two more time and rename the start. Pause, let me increase, capitalize it, and reset. Also let's rename the ids. For this, the id is pause button, and the second is last is the reset button. As you can see, we are able to see those button on screen. Now let's go to style.css and do the styling for all of them. So let's do the styling. Let's set some properties for body. So we want the font family to be and sans serif. Just not want this. So we have set the font family, and you can see the font has been changed on the screen. Now let's set the margin to 0, padding to 0, and let's set some background color, which is hash f6 f6 f6. So I have already written this on my notes. That's why I'm able to do it. Now let's create. As you can see, we have created one class called container. So we'll do the styling for that. So container, and for accessing classes we use the dot, and for accessing the IDs we use hash. So let's set some width. Maximum width we want it is 400 pixel, and let me just close this because then look. Okay, control I. After that, margin we want to set to 20 pixels, and photo. After that, let's add some padding is 20 pixel. And if you want to understand the meaning of margin, padding, or I mean to say CSS box model, then I already created a video called CSS box model explained on my YouTube channel. You can find the link on the iCard at the top. Let's set the background color, and it is some shade of gray. Now let's set the border radius to 5 pixel. Let's also add some shadow. So box shadow, and here we want it to 2 pixel, 4 pixel, then RGBA property to 0 comma 0 comma 0 comma 0.1. As you have already seen this exact line in some of my previous video also, I always write that. Text align it to center, and now this text will be centered. So we have created one card and added the text which is our heading Pomodoro timer and the timer along with the button on that card. Now let's do the styling for the colors. So as you can see, we are seeing them in blue color and they are looking awesome. So let's do that. So for h1 tag, let's do. So I want the color to be. Let me just copy the X code. Look like same. When when I save it, it is visible. Now let's also add some margin at the bottom, which is 20 pixel. Save it. We are good with this. Now add some property for timer. As you can see, we have created one class called timer, and on that class we are adding these minutes along with these buttons. So we will do that. So for timer, we are setting display it as flex, and the direction of flex should be column. Flex direction should be uh, column, and we want to align the item to center. I will create a series on flexbox later. After that, let's set some more property. The last after that we will set let me go to what is the name of the class. So we will set the styling for time display class. So let's do that. Time display. On that I want to set the font size to, as you can see, the font size has been increased. Also let's set the color, and we want the same color, so I will copy the color from here. Let me see it is visible or not. Yes, it is visible. After that, let's set some margin to the bottom. Margin bottom 20 pixel. Save it, and you can see the space between the buttons and the time been increased. Now let's style our buttons. So as you can see on our original, we are having button with blue colors, and they're they're looking good. So let's set. So for buttons, under that we want to apply it to all the buttons, so I am using button. Now let's set the padding 10 pixel and 20 pixel, and it always start from top, right, bottom, left. Then margin, which is 5 pixel. Let's also save it so we will see the changes. As you can see, the changes are missing. So by adding the padding, the internal space is increased, and by adding the margin, the space between the button has been increased. Now let's set the font size. We want it as 16 pixel. As you can see, font size has been also increased. Now set the color of the button text. So they are white, but when I will apply the background color as blue, it will be visible. Let's add the background color now, and the background color is, as you can see, it is visible. Now also we want some uh, border radius. Border radius is around 4 pixels, and we don't want the border, so let's add border. And now it is not visible. Now here, if I go here, the cursor is the normal cursor which was having, so we will change it to pointer. So cursor plus pointer. Now if I go to it, the cursor is changed. Now let's add transition. Background color 0.3s. Now it is visible. Now let's also give some hover effect to these buttons. So buttons button and the hover property. Background color has been set to, so we will need to change the background color. Let me copy the background. So now if I go to it, the color is changed. It is some other shade of blue. So we are pretty much done with the styling. Now let's go to script.js and write the code to start and stop and start, pause and reset this timer. And here you can see the spelling of reset is wrong. So let me change it. Reset. And now let's go to script.js and write the code for this. So first of all, we will set some variables. Minutes. We want the minute is as 25. After that, second. We want the seconds as 0 second, and we want one variable for timer. After that, we will use a one boolean variable which is running, and to check the status if the timer is running or not. Now, so we have created some variables. Now let's create one method called start time. So this method will start the timer. So function start timer, and let's do one thing. Let's set is running to true. Here we have started the timer, that's why we are setting is running to true. Now we will start the timer. So timer equals to set interval method we will use, and under that we will pass the function, the callback function, and along with that we need to set the interval, and here the interval will be 1 second. So every 1 second we want to change the output on the screen. So every 1 second we want to decrease the seconds, and after the seconds has been increased, we will also want to decrease the minutes. So let's do that. So if seconds is equals to 0, if second becomes 0, then what we want to do, we also want to check if minutes are 0 or not. Minutes are also 0, then we will clear the timer. So clear interval, and we will clear it. So if both minutes and seconds are 0, then we will just clear the timer, and we will set the is running to false. Like we are done with the timer, so we are setting the status of timer to false. It has been done. Now we also want to alert some text on the screen as we are done with the timer. So we will set timer let's write is times up now, and we will return from this function. But what if the minutes are not 0? Then we will set decrease the minute, and also set seconds to 59. Let me explain this code. So we are starting the timer, okay, and every time it will change, every second it will change, and there will be a time when the second will become 0. So it is 0, after it will go to 59, 58, 57, and it will come to 0. And then when it comes to 0, there is a change in 1 minute. So we will, that's why we are decreasing the minute to minute, and after that we are setting the seconds to 59, because after giving it to 0 0, it will be 59 58 again. That's why we are doing it here. Now what if uh, second is not set to 0? Then we will just decrease the seconds. Every second we want to decrease the value of seconds. That's why we are doing it here. Now after doing that, now we want to display it on screen. Every second we want to display those changes on the screen. For that we will get those elements, and we'll set the values of that. So for that, document dot get element by ID, and let's check the ID of this minutes. And here you can see it is minutes. So get element by ID, and it is uh, minutes. And here I want to set the text content to minutes, and also document dot get element by ID, and I want to set seconds, and I hope I'm writing it correctly, seconds, and I want to set the text content to seconds. Let's save it and let's click on start. So it will not work because we haven't applied the on click listener on those buttons, so we will do that later. And as you can see, we are done with the start timer. So let me do one thing. Let me add the methods to this button. So window dot add, we need to add event listeners, and whenever the DOM content is loaded, we want to execute this function. So first of all, we will add this start timer method to the start button. For that, we need to access the start timer button. So get element by ID, and as you already know, we have given some ID to this button, which is start button. So let me just copy it. Get element by ID, and we need to set uh, we need to add event listener here, and the event is click, and on that event I want to execute the function if is running is not false. So if the value of is running is true, then we want to start the timer. So if is running, start timer, and if I save it and click on start, nothing is happening because we might have done some mistakes. Oh, I don't know why we are getting this document dot get element by ID. Let me just check it. Window dot add event listener. Start timer. After that, here. So we will see what's the mistake we did. First of all, let's start with implementing the other two methods, and also let me just copy paste it so save the time. The start button we are done. Now the next button is pause button. Let's add some method to that. Pause button, and the last is reset button. So on click of pause button, we want is running. So whenever the timer is running, we want it to pause. So we will call a method called pause timer. We will implement this method now, and on the click of reset timer button, we want to reset the timer. So we will implement one reset timer method also. Let's save it. Okay, now let's implement a method called pause timer. So function dot pause timer, and this method will be implemented now. First of all, we want to clear the timer, clear interval, and we will it, and also we want to set is running to false. So we are done with that. Now I don't know what mistake we are doing. Okay, I am writing the wrong here. Here also I am writing the wrong. That's why the spelling of function is wrong. That's why they are not coming up properly. So if I click on start, Now it is starting. And if I click on pause, now it is getting pause. Also, I need to implement the reset method. So function reset timer, and let's reset it. For that, we will set the minutes to 25 and seconds to 0. We want to reset everything. That's why I am setting them. Now document dot get element by ID, and we want to set minutes content, minutes dot text content to uh, either we can set it to 25. Let me just copy it and it here 0 and we want this to be seconds. That's why I will replace it to seconds. And we want to set is running status to false because the timer is not running now. And we will clear the interval, and as you can see the changes are reflecting. Also, let's start the timer and see how it is going. So time will come when the value of the what I say minutes or second will become less than a 10, and then we want to show it into the format of 2 digits. So we will write this method now. So let me just write one more method which will be named as, let me write it here. So function, we will pad the time, pad time, and we will pass the time here. After that, return time. If time is less than 10, then we want to, so it is a ternary operator, as you already know. We want 0 to be added before the value. So for time, else we want to say the time. So let me explain it. If the value which is the minute or second is getting less than 10, then it will only show 1 digit, but on the screen we want to show 2 digits. That's why I am adding 10 before the actual value. And if the value of time is greater than 10, the minute or second is greater than 10, then we are showing it as it is. So I will just replace the values here. So I want to call pad time method, pad time, and I will pass minutes, and here at time seconds. Let me do one thing. Let's set the starting value to 10 so it will be visible to you. Start. Yeah, I am, and then I'm writing start. As you can see, 0 is visible. If I remove this method, then that 0 is not visible up before 9. So let me just remove this method for one time so I can show you the changes. Save, and let's start. As you can see, that 0 before that 9 is not visible, and the pad time method is adding that 0 before that value of minutes and second. Let me just undo it, save it. And also, what if I set it to 0 and 30 seconds? We should also be able to see this alert times up. So let's start it, and let's wait for 30 seconds to see if that alert is being shown on screen or not. Let's wait for that. And I know this video is getting longer, but yeah, we are understanding. Oh, I clicked on, I just saved the code and it stopped the timer. Let me just start it again by using less values so it will not waste our time. 5 4 3 2 1 0, and as you can see, a alert is visible and it says time's up. So everything is working fine. Let's set the values 25 so our timer will work properly. I think we are done with everything. Let me just explain the code once more. So let me open my. So first of all, we are done with variable declaration. We are using four variables here: minute, second, timer, and is running. After that, we are using writing a start timer function. The function start the timer by setting is running to true and using set interval to create a timer that executes the logic inside the provided function every 1 second. So this logic is executing every 1 second, and after the logic is executed, we are seeing the screen, the changes on the screen. So the logic is executed inside the set interval function. We are done with that. So if it checks if the second variable is 0, if so, it checks if the minute variable is also 0, and if both the variables are 0, then we are showing that alert on the screen and setting the is running to false and clearing the interval. And here if the value of second is not 0, then we are just decrementing the values, and here on line number 22 and 23 we are setting the actual content which is visible on the screen. And here on the post timer method, we have created one method to clear the interval and setting the value of is running to false. So if it becomes false, the it will become false. After that, we are also writing one more method for resetting the timer. Here we are resetted all the values which we are setting it here. So whatever the values we are set, we are resetting it to the original values. And we have used the pad time method to show a 0 before the minute or second if the value of them becomes less than 10. And at the last, we have added the event listeners for every method. So for start method, for start button, we have added the start timer function. For pause button, we have added the pause timer function, and for reset button, we have added the reset timer function. So that's it in this video. If you understand how to develop this application, so please like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and share it with your friends.